What's up guys, Cardog here, and today I'm here with another Digimon deck file. Today we'll be going over the BT17 Omnimon deck. So the deck is super fun to play. I have had problems with bricking, so I adjusted the deck according to my experience and how I deal with bricking. But if you know, obviously there's different preference for different people, so I'll just let you guys know what my preferences are, and you guys can kind of adjust it to your own preferences and the environment of the people you're playing against. So without further ado, let's get into the deck file. So for the Digitamas, we're running 5. We're running 4 of the BT9 Koromon. This one gives 1000 power if you have Greymon or Agumon in its name. So this is pretty good for just getting a bigger number to beat over other Digimon or increase your DP pop thresholds. So it's pretty good for that. And we're running 1 of the Koromon from BT14. This one helps you draw a card whenever a security is one of your opponent's security is checked. So you can run 4 of the BT14 one if you want more draw power. I'm running the DP gain one just so I can do more things with the Secret Greymon. But yeah, you can, if you feel like there's a bigger need for a draw, then definitely. But yeah, let's get right into the main deck. So let's start off with the rookies because the rookies are actually pretty key for the deck. So we're running 4 Agumons from BT17. So this Agumon evolves for free on top of Koromon, and it's got a beginning of main phase effect, which is if you have Tai Chi on the board, a card with Tai Chi on the board, you can pick a Garurumon or Greymon or Omnimon from your trash and return back to your hand. So this is one of your cards to retrieve your cards from your trash, and then the inherent ability is at the end of your opponent's at the end of your turn you can draw grass with one of your other Digimon. So yeah, it's just your standard end of turn draw grass effects. And then we're also running 4 Agumon from BT12. So this one, it's a searcher. It looks at the top 4 cards of your deck. Helps you grab a Greymon, Omnimon, and then a card with Taijin's name. So you can potentially grab 2 targets with this card. So it's pretty good. The inherent effect just gives you plus 1k if you have Greymon or Omnimon's name. So it can be pretty useful. Next we're running 4 Gabumon. So this is a beginning of main phase effect as well, and it works when you have a Yamato on the board. You can just draw 1. So not as good as retrieving a card, but beginning of the game he might be pretty useful. And the inherent effect is also the end turn drawgress. So there's that. And then we're also running 4 Ukomon. This is obviously here to fix some of the consistency issues. Before I was running 4 of the memory gain Ukomon as well, but that's way too much Ukomons. You don't really need those. But if you feel like you need it, you can try it. I don't think you'll like it. I'd rather run a 4 analog boys instead if you're planning to run that Ukomon, but even analog bugs I cut out. They were not too necessary once I got set up. So there's that. And we are going to be running 4 of the Greymon from BT17. So this is the new secret from BT17. It's actually pretty good. It puts in a lot of work. So on evolution, if you have Koromon Koromon's name, then you can get plus 3000 power, and afterwards you can delete something that has lower DP than this. So that's why the egg getting extra DP is strong, because if you Digivolve, you can do something like this, you can pop something 9k, which helps you get rid of a lot of cards that can go into ace. So it's pretty good. And afterwards you can use this to swing. So you'll be using this to swing, and then when it dies, you can play a card with Tai Chi or Hikari from your hand without paying its cost, and then you can hatch an egg. So it comes really well with the new Tai Chi and Hikari. And then on both players' turn, this card gains all the names of its evolution source that's level 3 or below. So if it has Gabumon, it gains Gabumon. If it has Agumon, it gains Agumon. So helps with the deck as well. So next we're running 4 War Greymons. This card is super important. I mean, this and the Metal Grumon are pretty key for the deck, and I'll explain why. So if you have a Taichi on the board, you can play this card for 3 costs less. And then on evolution and on play, you can choose one of the following effects. One is to pop something 8k or less, and the other effect is to Digivolve one of your Gabumon into a Metal Garurumon, ignoring its Digivolution requirements, as well as its paying its cost. So you'll be able to just go into Metal Garurumon, and even when it's like this, you'll still be able to do it because now the Greymon has the Gabumon in its name. And remember, the Greymon can Digivolve on top of blue for 3. So yeah, this Greymon is pretty much made for this deck, so you're going to be running the Greymon. And next we are, actually let's go with this first. So we're also running 4 of the Metal Garurumons. So Metal Garurumon's also a rare from BT17. I think the Metal Garurumon's kind of more useful than the War Greymon, in my opinion. So on play, you can choose one of the following effects. Same, if you have Yamato on the board, you can reduce its cost by 3. And then the following effects are: choose one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamer, and that card cannot rest on the end of opponent's turn. And then the second effect is one of your Agumon can Digivolve into a War Greymon, ignoring its evolution requirements as well as paying its cost. So you'll be able to go into Omnimon pretty easy. Locking is a lot more useful than deleting, in my opinion. If you can delete, that's fine, but locking helps you get over a lot of Digimon that has more than 8,000 DP, obviously. And if your opponent doesn't have a Digimon to lock, you can lock one of your Tamers as well, which is pretty clutch. Metal Garurumon helped me won a few games. And when you don't have the War Greymon on the board, or you can't find a way to Jogress, just slapping him out and having that pressure on the board is pretty good. Especially if you have the option here, you're able to combo pretty well with having just one of them on the board. So let's go over the other level 6s we're running. So we're also running 2 of the War Greymon from BT14. So this one lets you warp from an Agumon as long as you have Taichi on the board and a Taichi name on the board and a opponent with over 10k on the board. And then on evolution, on the end of turn, this card gets raid, and then this Digimon can attack. And then on attack, on the end of turn, this card gets plus security, +1 security, as well as piercing. So overall, he's just strong. Obviously, you want to go into this one first. This one is kind of like secondary. The reason why I'm running extra War Greymons is because I find myself missing one of the pieces sometimes. And so just running extras of another copy of War Greymon and Metal Garurumon will help brick less. And since we are running more Agumons in the deck than Metal Garurumon, when we're just playing 2 War Greymons, and we are running 1 Metal Garurumon. But if you feel like you don't need the 2 Metal War Greymons, you can kind of adjust the ratio according to you, or you can cut these out entirely. These are flex slots, but if you play the deck long enough, you'll find sometimes you just don't have one of these on fast enough, and so having extra copies will having extra of the War Greymon and Metal Garurumon will help you go into your win con easier. But they don't have inherits. Oh, I forgot to talk about inherits. So the inherit for War Greymon is whenever you attack, you can if you have Omnimon's name, you can trash the top card security, opponent security, and the Metal Garurumon to unsuspend. So they're really strong inherit effects, but sometimes you just don't have them, and that's fine. Sometimes getting your Omnimon out is more important. So yeah, these will work as backup. The Metal Garurumon, same as the War Greymon, if you have a Yamato on the board, you can warp if your opponent has a 10k or above Digimon. And then it has Evade. And on evolution, you can lock 3 cards. So that's really good. It'll help you stall out some games. And then on both players' turn, whenever this card is rested, you can make it unsuspend. So the evade will come in handy in that case. So yeah, those are all the megas we're running. Next, we're going over to level 7s. So we're running 4 of the Omnimons. This is obviously the new boss monster for the deck. It's super strong, super fun to use. So it jogresses with a Wargreymon and a Greymon and a Garurumon level 6. So you can use other ones if you want. This deck actually works in the Ultra S deck as well, but you won't be able to Blast Evolve because the Blast Evolve requires a Wargreymon and a Metal Garurumon. And then it has Raid and Blocker, and then on play and on evolution, you can. Well, the effect is when you jogres. You can choose one of your opponent's Digimon and choose one and return it to the deck, and then all the Digimon with the same level are to the bottom of the deck. And then you can delete one of your opponent's Digimon. So if you're playing against things like via Boromon, this wrecks it. But since it targets things with the same level, if they're playing something with a lot of something that goes wide, you can get rid of that as well, and then use this to pop their bigger Digimon. So overall, this is just a really strong removal. Of course, there are decks with cards that don't eat effects, and you'll have a bit of a problem here. That's why you're going to use Raid to try to beat over it. And that's why the Digitama with DP up will help with that as well. But overall, it's a strong card. I quite like it. And at level 7, we're running the Agumon Bond of Courage. So on evolution and on play, you can delete something with less DP than this card, the total. So you can choose a bunch of units that add up to this card's DP and delete it. And then on attack, if you have a tamer, you can just trash tower security. We're running 2 of these, and we're not running any Gabubon because Gabubon is actually not that great compared to Agumon. Gabubon looks at the source, and if you're warping, you're not going to have that many sources, so I don't think it's super strong. But I think the Agumon is pretty good just because you can trash on attack. And he can just Digivolve on top of your Wargreymons, which we're running more of. So yeah, he's really good. He's really, really good. For tamers, we are going to be running 4 of the Yamato, Tai and Yamato. So the fact is, on all turns, when one of your Digimon is played or Digivolves by suspending this tamer, if you have a Digimon with Greymon in his name, get 1. If you have a Digimon with Garurumon's name, get 1 memory. So you can get 2 if you're doing the full combo. So make sure you tap them after both of them are on the board. Don't tap when one of them are on the board and it's getting ready to play the other one, because then you'll miss out on one more memory. So having a lot of these on the board will make your Wargreymon and Metal Garurumon super cheap. So they're pretty good. And at the end of turn, one of your Digimon with Omnimon's name may attack a player. So you'll be able to just attack with your Omnimon. And since it has Raid, you'll be able to change targets as well if you want to. So overall, really, really great tamer. So we're running 2 of the Tai and Hikaris. So this is a super clutch card in the deck. I might run more. I'm deciding on it, but 2 is pretty good for me so far. Running more will help you early game, but sometimes it might be a dead draw when you don't need it. So we're running 2. So the fact is, whenever you hatch a card in the breeding area, you can rest this tamer to get 1 memory. So it's pretty good just for getting memory, and it combos really well with Ukomon. And then the second effect is, at the end of your turn, you can return this tamer to the bottom deck, draw 1, and then you can choose a Tai or Hikari card. So it can have as long as it has a name, you can play it. You'll be able to play it for free. So it helps you cheat out your Tai Yamatos, and it also helps you cheat out your Memory Sitter Tai. So this is here because it helps you, whenever you change a target, you can get plus 2k and draw a card. And giving your Omnimon plus 2k will help it beat over Magnamons. So it's pretty important. And you have insurance in this deck to beef up its DP by more. So you can have these. So you can beat over Magnamons even when it gets DP buff, which is pretty important because it's still it's still pretty prevalent in the current meta. So having an option to get rid of it is pretty nice, especially since you can't remove it with Omnimon's removal effects. So Omnimon is just good at beating over stuff and deleting stuff with effects, so it's a pretty good all-rounder. Next, we're also running one Yamato. This is a card that I might swap out for another Tiny Hikari, but I think one Yamato is nice, just because if you have it early, you can have this and then you have a red Digitama in your breeding area. You'll still be able to access these, versus if you only have a Tama and you have one of the other tamers, you won't be able to use it as early. And this card actually helps you get some memory as well. So the fact is, on play, you can look at the top 3 cards of the deck and you can grab a Gabumon or a Garurumon card and then put the rest at the bottom of the deck. And then on your turn, whenever a card is added to you, whenever one of your Digimon adds a card to your hand, you can rest this tamer to get 1 memory. So since we're running so many cards, so many rookies that can help you draw, you'll be able to get the memory back pretty easily. One of the problems with this card is you might bottom deck your important Greymon stuff, and so I'm running 1. Most of the time when I'm missing Gabumon stuff, I'll slap this down. But usually you won't have too much problem with your Greymon stuff because you have a lot of ways to retrieve it. Gabumon stuff, there's less in the deck, so you might need to have a little bit more power to search for it, and the 1 Yamato will help with that. Next, we are going to be running 4 of the Miraculous Ultimate Knight. So this is a super strong option card in my opinion. So for 2 costs, you can play a Agumon or Gabumon from your hand or trash without paying its cost, and then you can place the card in the battle area. And then on both turns, whenever one of your Digimon with Greymon or Garurumon in its name would leave the battle area other than by battle, you can use the delay, which is to DNA Digivolve that card with another card to form into an Omnimon. So it's pretty good. You can blast evolve without your opponent attacking. So as long as they have a way to remove it, not by battle, you'll be able to just use this card and go into Omnimon and then screw their board. So most of the time this card is here just for the psychological pressure for your opponent. They don't know if you have an Omnimon in your hand. So a lot of times you'll be able to bait them into not getting rid of your Metal Garurumon or Greymon. Because honestly, if they do, unless they have another way to out it. So a lot of times they'll have to bait out your Omnimon and then kill it another way. Or you can just sit on this and just do the joggers the normal way. So yeah, overall the deck is really fun. I think actually this is has a lot of potential for later. You know, since this is the Greymon card game, I'm pretty sure there's going to be more Greymon support. And when there's more Greymon support, Agumon support, and Gabumon support, I think there's going to be more chances that this deck will get better. Honestly, I want a Gabumon that, I don't know. The black Gabumon you can also run in this deck because it helps you search for Agumon and Greymons. But it is black, so you won't be able to Digivolve on top of your Koromon when you need it. And that's why I'm not running it. But that's definitely an option. I think the rookie lineup that I'm running so far is pretty solid. I think if you want consistency, you can run 1 or 2 of those. If you're having a lot of problems and you're always whiffing. But there's enough search and draw power in this build that I'm currently running for it not to be a problem. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know, do you guys like this deck? I think this deck is super fun. I like the fact that you don't have to climb up to go into your win con. That was one of the problems I had with the short defeat deck. But this one, you just slap down a Wargreymon or a Metal Garurumon, and as long as you have a rookie that you pushed out this turn or from last turn that your opponent didn't kill, you can Digivolve that into a Wargreymon or a Metal Garurumon and just go ham. So it's super fun to play. And if you do it super early, your opponent might not have an out to it. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's a fun deck. But that's pretty much it for this deck, guys. If you guys want to support the channel, feel free to use the links down below. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.